So I like to think that everybody in life has a goal that they want to achieve, or if not everyone, almost everyone. You know, it differs from person to person. For some people, it's an amazing education. Getting into the school of their dreams. Some people, it's a better car, a nicer house, or a cabin, something like that. Some people, it's just pursuing a better version of themselves when it comes to their life, organization, getting up earlier, um, being more active in the gym or just in general, or maybe it's a side project, learning an instrument or starting a YouTube channel, even. But obviously, when we have these goals, we want to achieve them. That's why they're goals. And there are times in our lives where we actually try to do it, or at least I'd hope so. And I feel like more times than not, when those times come to motivate us to achieve these goals, it's usually something like this. And let me know if this sounds familiar, but it's like 2 a.m., you're sitting there on your phone, something hits you, some sort of motivation, whether it's on social media or something you see about yourself or think about yourself, whatever it may be. And it gives you that little spark, that little spark of motivation that erupts into this huge flame all of a sudden, that you shoot out of bed. You're like, you know what? I'm going to turn my whole life around. I'm going to do this better, this better, this better, all this stuff. And I'm going to get this huge, overhaul of my life in the next couple of months. And I feel like a very easy way to talk about this is the gym, because I feel like that's a goal a lot of people share. So I think that's kind of the example I'm going to give here. But obviously it can be anything, any of those things that I just mentioned all usually come with some sort of plan to get to them, right? So thinking of the gym, you shoot out of bed, you're like, you know what? I want to get jacked for this summer. Spring break's coming up, I'm going to be swimming all the time this summer. I want to be huge. I want to put on 20 pounds of muscle, all this stuff that you get motivated for. And you develop this plan, you know, you sit down and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to work out this day, this day, this day, and this day. I'm going to hit this muscle groups at this time. This fitness influencer told me that I'm going to need to do this. I need to eat this amount of protein. I need to spend this amount of money on brand new gym clothes and shoes and a new membership. And I'm going to create this perfect gym routine for myself that if I follow, or not if I follow, when I follow, I'm going to be jacked in a month. Because that's what, some YouTuber on fitness told me, or some Instagram influencer or whatever, right? So you have this plan now. You wake up the next day and you have this plan, and it's very structured. It tells you that you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this. And more times than not, when you have a plan like that, where it's super, super structured and super, rigid and defined, that you have to do all these things in order to meet this goal, it doesn't really last too long, does it? And with the gym, for example, say that you plan to work out 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And say Friday's your leg day, and you're going to hit it at, I don't know, 6:30 after you get home from work or school or whatever it may be. And you're sitting there, and at 6 o'clock, your friends text you like, hey, we're all getting together at 7. You want to swing by? It's going to be a ton of fun, whatever. And you're sitting there and you're like, damn, what do I do? Do I go and hit the gym and, chase my goals, or do I want to go hang out with my friends? And I feel like most of the time we're going to go choose to hang out with our friends, especially since we're only a few days into this routine. So then what happens? Your whole plan, this perfect drawn out plan that you had for yourself, is destroyed. This plan that you set for yourself that you have to follow, that is going to carry you all the way until glory, is broken. You failed because your level of success and your level of achievement was defined by how well you can follow this plan that you created for yourself. You see these YouTubers, or, you see these influencers on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and they get up every day at 6 a.m. and go to the gym every day, and they run in the morning and they lift at night, and they're eating perfectly. Their meals are all timed. And now you just failed at what those people do. You sat there and you chose to go to your friend's house instead. But the next day, you're like, oh, I'll just hit it tomorrow. I'll just do it tomorrow. But the next day was supposed to be your day for shoulders. So now what do? Do you hit shoulders or do you hit legs or what do you do? And it kind of stresses you out, right? Now you're sitting there and you're like, well, I don't know, maybe, okay, well, this whole week's thrown off, I could just start next week. So, you're like, I'm going to restart Monday. And you give up on Friday, you give up on Saturday, you give up on Sunday, all to restart on Monday. And what do you do in those 3 days? You slack off, you don't lift, you eat like shit, and now what? Now you feel horrible about yourself. And it's this idea that I struggled with for so long where I felt like everything needed to be perfect to succeed. I needed to follow a plan. I needed to have rock hard motivation where nothing could disrupt it and everything had to be perfect or else I was failing. Why? Because my favorite influencers were perfect, or at least, it seemed that way to me. These professional athletes are perfect and they're on this perfect diet schedule and this perfect routine. But the reality is their goals are far different than mine. My goals are simply just to, look a little bit better, feel a little bit better and whatnot. Their goals are to be those influencers, those professional athletes. And I know I've been kind of rambly here, but what I'm getting at essentially is probably what the title of this video is going to be, honestly. It doesn't have to be perfect. When you're chasing a goal, what I've found is that the less structure you have to it, especially early on, the more likely you are to succeed. And what I mean by that is if you go into chasing a goal, whatever it may be, learning an instrument, studying harder, getting a better grade in a certain class, or, working out, the less structure you have to it early on, the better. Because it allows you to build momentum over time rather than just trying to use it all at the beginning. Because when you develop that initial plan, like I said earlier, that 3 a.m. perfect plan, you're relying that on every single day of your life, you're going to have the same exact motivation, the same exact drive, the same exact inspiration that you do that very night. You're relying on the fact that every day is going to go as planned. You're relying on the fact that every single day your schedule, your structure of your day is going to change, stay the same. You're relying on the fact that everything is now going to revolve around this plan when that's just not the case. More often than not, there is more important things in life that are going to disrupt a plan. So my recommendation and what I've implemented in my own life that's been really, really helpful is choosing a strategy over a plan. And while I feel like a lot of people, will be like, oh, those words are interchangeable. They're the same thing. To me, they're not. And what I mean is a plan is when I've been kind of highlighting this whole, discussion here. A plan is where you sit there and you're setting things to do at certain times, certain days, a certain way every single day. A plan is rigid. A strategy can adapt. A strategy, you can sit there on that Friday where your friends invite you out, where they tell you, oh, come out at this time. And you're like, you know what? I can just hit shoulders and legs together because nothing's stopping me from doing that. Nothing's stopping me from altering my plan to get more work in than I would have if I would have just done nothing at all. Doing anything to chase a goal, to get closer to what you want to achieve in life is better than doing nothing. Every single time. It doesn't have to be some perfect bodybuilder schedule, some perfect professional athlete schedule, some perfect, scholar, perfect studying schedule. Doing anything at all, regardless of what your schedule throws at you, regardless of what life throws at you, is better than doing nothing. So the next time that you go to chase a goal in your life, whatever it may be, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so motivated to build a perfect step-by-step process to achieve a goal. Instead, give yourself loose goals. Give yourself loose ideas. Allow yourself to fail during the week and adapt to it because it builds motivation. It tells you that you are willing to do whatever it takes. It tells you that it doesn't have to be easy for you to succeed, and it tells you that motivation is not the only thing driving you towards this goal. No. So I'm sorry if this was rambly. I didn't write a script for this at all. So I kind of just, went off the top of my head. But I felt like it's really important, and it's something that I'm definitely still learning myself and implementing to my own life. And it's something I wanted to share because it's been something that's really, really, really helped me as I've been chasing my personal goals in the gym. And I feel like it's really applicable to other areas of life. So, yeah, try it out. Let me know how it goes. And something I also want to toss in at the end of this video is if anybody has anything at all that they want to recommend for me to talk about or have a question about or think that for some reason me recording these videos would be able to help them out with something, let me know. I'd love to hear what people have to say or even think about this topic, and any other topics, but that's about it. Thanks.